Perfectly poised then for the second half of this intriguing quarter-final match. Two snooker heavyweights going toe-to-toe once again, and for the fourth time this season. Two apiece. Mark Allen getting us back underway. He surely will be the happier of the two, given that he was 2-0 behind, it goes without saying. And John Higgins did miss a couple of very important balls. The black in the third frame when he was threatening 3-0, and then in attempting to roll a long red in to the right corner, he overcut it. And Allen got his opportunity to share the spoils. So it's now a best of 5 for a place in the last 4 here in Llandudno. But Higgins has certainly been queuing well again. 62 in the first frame, 131. Quite brilliant break in the second. Allen was the victor this season in the Champion of Champions semi-final, on his way to that title, and in the first round of the Masters in a decider. Higgins gaining some measure of revenge by beating Allen in the recent German Masters 5-2. But here's a chance for the pistol. He's just undercut it though.
Yeah, just not quite. And I mean, it's a funny old game, is this snooker, when you think it's 2-2 and yet one player will be happier than the other one with the scores as you started. But I think clearly before that shot anyway, Mark Allen would have been the more buoyant of the two. So John's got to go again here from scratch, which he's very capable of doing.
And this is precisely where the recent work that Higgins has been putting in for the first time in his career on the mental side of things becomes more significant, because he has talked himself about negative feelings that have affected him when one or two balls that he would have potted in the past have gone astray, and matches that he had in the palm of his hand seemingly have got away from him. I'm sure he will be a little irked to only have 2 of the 4 frames so far, given the start he made, but it's about remaining positive. He knows he's playing well. It's about accepting that sometimes things do go wrong and not allowing yourself to dwell on that, which of course is much easier said than done. But it's only in the last few seasons that Higgins has been afflicted by what Clive Everton used to call clincher's disease. He's a serial winner. He's a 31-time ranking titleist, and it's just a case of getting that mindset back again at this late-ish stage of his career. Remember, he turns 49 in May. And he's been a professional, John Higgins, for as long as this tournament has been staged.
70.
He's also won it more times than anyone else, and not for the first time today. A terrific split.
Yeah, very good split. And of course, you know, everybody misses balls. You know, he missed a black off the spot. It's not a crime. There's not a player in the world who's not done that. The sort of shot you would pop 49 times out of 50, you'll miss that other time. It's just that in the case of John, he's been so reliable for so long. The odd shot does creep in, and he can't quite get his head round it, whereas mere mortals are more used to missing shots. But as I say, he'll regroup, and he's got this early in frame 5, which helps.
The last time he did win a ranking title, almost exactly 3 years ago, he was unplayable. Remember, Mark Selby scored just 7 points in their best of 11 frame match in the Players' Championship in 2021. Beat Ronnie O'Sullivan 10-3 in the final.
23.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could see that sort of snooker played more than once. I was going to say in a lifetime, but, you know, maybe a decade or two. It was everything he did was right. He had the combination of granite-like safety. I mean, he really did just pin everybody to the cushion and say, just draw a chair up the other end. And then when they made a mistake, he would win the frame.
29.
It was incredible that week. Maybe from then he couldn't do anything but not play as well as that for a while. But it kind of reminded
30.
everyone what he was capable of.
And of course, he'll be back in that tournament next week in Telford. He's 11th on the one-year list, Higgins. He's got no worries at all when it comes to ranking points this season. He's been very consistent. It's just the trophy that's proved elusive, but who knows, that could change this weekend.
37.
Exploring the possibility of a plant there to the same pocket as he's about to take this next pot into.
$38.
I think maybe this early opportunity is just what he needed, actually, to get himself back on the horse, back playing. Chance to get his lead back. That's probably as good as it gets, his position on this red. You don't want to be straight.
45.
And he's got an angle to basically drop it in.
Tomorrow, of course, we'll be down to the single table here at Venue Cymru for the semi-finals. We've got 2 quarter-finals to be played concurrently this evening, simultaneously, from 7 o'clock. Table 1, Luca Brissell, Martin O'Donnell, who has beaten Brissell in their 3 previous meetings. And Gary Wilson and Anthony McGill, they'll be on Discovery Plus on Table 2.
Yes, I mean, that's all to come. And just a quick word on O'Donnell. He played 2 very grueling matches
53.
yesterday. And they finished very late in the day as well against Anthony Hamilton and Marco Fu. He's a pretty resilient character, so I wouldn't rule out a chance
54.
that he could upset the world champion there. Anyway, that's all to look forward to. This still getting very interesting.
$61. $62.
Mark Allen took on the long red at the start of this frame, hit it just a little too thick, and this is the result. This is exactly what Higgins would have been looking for.
68.
After the interval, having had 15 minutes to digest what might have been.
69.
He's going to be back into the lead, barring Snookers, with 67 remaining. Certainly want this black in as well, though.
$76.
Well, I thought
John Higgins,
maybe thought there was a possible
76.
plant on there. Does he want to carry on? That's the question. And it seems that he is going to carry on, understandably.
One.
I think, judging by the scowl on his face, I don't really think he wanted to carry on. But you sometimes feel obliged to, just because there is a glimmer of hope you could steal a frame from nowhere. If you don't try, you don't get. Taking it down to 1 red and looking for the free ball scenario that we always
6.
talk about.
Seven.
Alan's going for his 11th ranking title this weekend.
14.
His best ever run here at the Welsh was a semi-final appearance. That was back in 2016 when he lost to Neil Robertson.
Cheers. 15. Two. $23.
So here's the point where, following this black, he'll be trying to get a fiendish snooker arranged. So 11 points to make up, which, you know, can be done in
30.
one fell swoop, actually. You know, a snooker and then a free ball would be a game changer. But you've got to get someone like John Higgins to miss the snooker. That's one of the problems. There's always the perfect shot, though, in there, where you put your opponent in the virtually impossible position and they leave the free ball as well. So it's always worth a stab. Although that, not quite a perfect shot,
Mark Allen,
has
30.
to be said. Quite interesting, though, that Mark Allen put that red up virtually in the D, which means there's a lot of possible balls that you can get a free ball behind if you do get the snooker. You know, obstacles in the way. I would expect him to hit this, but he's still a good effort. Because that's the snag about playing it slowly, which he had to do. You have no choice, but then you leave yourself in a position where another snooker is very possible here. Free ball is not really an option, should he miss this. Seems unlikely he'd get one anyway. Now the brown is in a very interesting position for Mark Allen to try and get the cue ball behind at some point. It's a good place for getting snookers. Immediately he makes that effort.
3 snookers required. But while the red is on the table, with that possibility of a free ball, there is still some hope for Alan, albeit that he's up against one of the most tactically astute players in the game's history, John Higgins.
Few laughs between the two of them. He was in a snooker. He hasn't quite got one back, and of course he needs 3 as it stands. Oh. Dangerous. And again, another ball that would help Mark. Yes, he's got his work cut out in a big way here, but the pink where it's gone, also handy. Again, the cue ball in behind there. These frames are very competitive, aren't they, at this level now, even in what could well be a lost cause. Mark Allen's putting everything into it.
Yes, and I think this is the kind of frame which maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago Alan would have given up. But he is a different sort of player these days. He's prepared to really dig in and scrap it out where required when the odds are against him. As he said himself, he's now got games A, B, C, D and E, although he says he feels his A game is still some way away from reappearing. But here he is in the quarterfinals again, having won 2 titles already this season, 3 last. So he's clearly doing plenty right.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say about that, and it's a fairly quiet moment, so he probably can speak about these things, but, you know, an A game of these top players is something you would very rarely see, because that means you can just pot all the balls all the way through the match. I would say O'Sullivan played his A game against Ding Junhui in the World Grand Prix recently, where he played lights out snooker. But I've seen Higgins do it that week in Milton Keynes, the players. But you can't really strive for that, because that will only happen very occasionally. I think, you know, if you're going to go through the letters of the alphabet as Mark did, you know, the B game is still a very effective level, just below your absolute top notch. And there are certain players who are further down the list on the rankings who, if all the pots don't go in, they don't beat anybody. And that, I think, is the difference between the lower reaches of the rankings and the top players here we're seeing.
A very good afternoon. Well, that would have clearly killed it off for sure. Feels like a long time ago now that John Higgins was making that excellent 76 break off Mark Allen's missed long red. He's still hot favourite to win the frame, but while the red is up, there's still life for Mark Allen. A little nudge off the yellow has given Higgins another opportunity.
One. Yeah, and the frame.
And Mark
John
Allen
Higgins.
nods his head. So in the end, Higgins flukes the final red. But in truth, the frame was already won. Mark Allen needed 3 snookers, a very tall order. He couldn't get them. And John Higgins is back in front at 3-2. Record 5 times winner, John Higgins, back in front here on
Thank you.
day
frame
5 of the
6.
Welsh Open.
John Higgins to break.
Excellent break
Quiet,
of 76.
please.
Mark Allen tried in vain to get the 3 snookers he required. Higgins 2 frames away from the semi-finals. Looking to close the overall head-to-head in the process to 12-11. Mark Allen just 2 in front overall. Their first match was the 2005 Northern Ireland Trophy second round encounter. A lot of snooker water under the bridge since then.
Interesting, he never took on that long half-ball red there, Mark Allen. Understandably, I guess with the red up the table. But had the red not been up the table and he took it on, I think he would have got it. But it's just a different mindset. When there's a problem, it's not a shot to nothing anymore. But it's hard match play. I mean, they've both played pretty well, not at their best. But it's some of the other things that happen. The safety battles, the little nudges and shots that give you an edge over the course of a season, not necessarily in the course of a frame or match. That's where it gets interesting, and anyone watching, trying to improve their match play, could do worse than watch this pair. It's a beautiful shot, and there's an example of it, leaving nothing but perhaps the red he was playing, but now it's gone in.
One.
He's going to have to make something from this chance. Only just made it, this red, but I suppose if he had missed it, it might have been close to the pocket, but it would have been unlucky. Problem is now, as you see, to keep the break alive, he's got to play another good shot. There's an argument that he may not go for this red to middle, but it's perhaps too much of a risk. Understand that one, because the cue ball would have probably got embedded in the middle of the bunch had he potted it anyway. So with those reds either side of the table, the left cushion and the two on the right, it just means that the safety shot from the main bunch becomes more difficult. You can hit something on the way back. Which means John might have to try something else, including a possible dart at this long pot. Couldn't get the cue ball back anyhow. That's the one thing that came of that, because of those reds scattered around.
Crowd engrossed in the action in this first quarter-final. Remember, our second features the home favourite, Dominic Dale. What a week the 52-year-old veteran is having, up against Elliot Slessor. Winner of that to play the winner of our evening match here on table 1 from 7 o'clock. Luca Brissell and Martin O'Donnell, Gary Wilson and Anthony McGill on table 2 from 7 o'clock. And the winner of that will play the winner of this in the last 4 tomorrow.
Well, he got a long way away from it, but the worst part about it was not the pot being missed, but the cannon full ball on the green, and that's why he left a red.
One. Six.
Little trace of left-hand side to get the right side, in his case of being on the blue, It's an early in again, but it's not necessarily a big opportunity yet. Depends what he can do with this big cluster of reds, which are fairly tightly bunched at this stage. He's going from now. Problem there, and he may still be on one, was he didn't go into the bunch directly. I think he's on the end one though. He just grazed the pink, or else, and it could have took the speed out of things a little bit. But I do believe he's on a red.
$13.
Inch perfect. Again.
18.
And now the reds are slightly better because of the earlier split than they were initially. There's still some work to do. Saw a couple of reds to the right corner, which may be set up for a possible plant. Those bottom two.
19.
I'm not sure if they're dead in line, but they're not. They've got the chance of making them in line because the gap between the two reds is not a small one. This was the split. If he hadn't hit the pink on the way through, I think the reds would have spread even better. Well held.
24. $25.
Yeah, we saw a little glimpse of something to the left middle, but don't believe that red was potable. And
32.
John didn't think it was either. I mean, it may just creep in. But it was too close for comfort. John had a different option up his sleeve, because in playing this red, he releases the one below and to the right of it.
$33.
I think his cue ball in this break has been very good. Even that little shot, not using a cushion to get top side of the blue, you can, on these fast tables, see cue ball head to a cushion very often. So that was a nice little shot. Ah, that's a nice split. Now that is what he was looking for. A little grimace, because the red to the right
38.
of the black possibly hampers him a touch, but it's still good. I mean, can't believe he's not pleased with this opening that's come again. He's created it so well.
$39. 46.
Again, he went into them there, but with a
47.
view just to hold the cue ball more than anything. And now he'd be extremely disappointed if it wasn't a frame-winning break at the end of this. There's always something, isn't there? That red by his bridge hand. So he's a bit straighter front arm than he would usually be. But it hasn't affected him.
Shades of the start of this match with Higgins on top, making the breaks. He started with 62 in the
54.
first frame, 131 total clearance in the second, before Allen was able to claw his way back. But Higgins has kicked on
55.
again since then. And this time, assuming he does go on to clinch this frame, he'll be within just one of victory. And Allen has got to win the last three. Tall order. 47 the lead, 67 left. So another red colour, and red to be sure.
62.
And Mark Allen will have a lot to do.
He will, and at
63.
the moment, John looks the stronger player, the better player. And there is that nagging doubt that he's been 2 up with 3 to play in matches, lost them in the past. A fairly recent past. Until he's over the
70.
line in an important match against a player who's beaten him a few times, he won't be happy.
$71.
Seems unlikely that Allen's going to come back to the table this time. And I think Higgins is good value for this lead. He's been the better player throughout, really.
77.
It was a bonus for Mark Allen to come out of the mini session at 2-all. Higgins could have won the 2 frames he lost, but he's dominated the 2 frames since. That's a lovely bit of cueing.
78.
Pressure off, yes, but even so, with the spider, he made that look easy. It certainly wasn't.
Yeah, it's a pity about that. It's been a nice cannon, been a very neat break.
85.
John Higgins is
John Higgins,
monopolising
85
the
on the
scoring
frame.
in this match. 62, 131, 76 and now 85. Just 1/2 century so far from Mark Allen, who has an awful lot to do to turn this around. He trails 4-2. Mark Allen with a big yawn there as he returned to the table. He must be tired of watching John Higgins knocking in all the balls. He certainly has done since the interval. Breaks of 76 and 85. Allen missed a red from distance at the start of this little mini session and hasn't really had much of a look in since. And now has got to win 3 in a row. But as we know, this has been the stage of a match where in the last couple of seasons or so, John Higgins has had a few difficulties in closing things out. Can he do so today and keep alive hopes of a record-extending 6th Welsh Open title, and in the process an 84th ranking semi-final appearance?
Never easy shots, those. He wasn't that close. The double kiss has worked out a treat, actually, which is quite rare. Normally double kisses are always bad news. decent shot. He's always going to try to finish in that corner with no way of Allen getting access to the red, this side of the brown. But of course, any safety shots off other balls, playing back to bulk, are a risk, because that red just could be potable for certain places. That's why he's played that shot. He's touching ball, and John might be putting him there again. Don't think it was called as one by Colin Humphries. It's pretty close to all of them to me, but there you are. No touching ball it was. A little bit of a stalemate here. Of course, it's basically to do with that red up the table, and they're going to have a re-rack. Well, they're fair enough, I think, and that was an early shout. These two are good pals. There was no lack of communication there, so a frame that seemed like it was probably not going to go anywhere for a while is scrubbed from all records, basically.
And in the match between Anthony Hamilton and Martin O'Donnell earlier in the week, their first frame was re-racked twice, and that accounted for 58 minutes, which officially never existed.
I mean, that's a very unpleasant business, wasn't it? I saw all that, and yeah, it took a long time for anything to happen in that match. And I think, in a way, that makes me think that O'Donnell did well, because he won that match in the end from 2-0 down. And then quite late at night, he beat Marco Fu, who seemed a little bit impatient, I thought, Marco. I hope he's all right. He was out-manoeuvred by O'Donnell fairly and squarely, but he was kind of running around the table, Marco, and he looked a bit uncomfortable out there, but it was late. It was almost this morning. In fact, I think it finished after midnight. They, of course, that side of the draw in action later.
Frame 7, Mark Allen to break.
So take two in frame 7 after the re-rack. Mark Allen breaking off. Point of no return for him. But he'll have memories of overturning this deficit in the Northern Ireland Open final a couple of seasons back. 8-6 down, and came through against John Higgins, who suffered a similar fate in 2 Home Nations finals that season. It happened to him at the English Open against Neil Robertson as well, and then even worse, the Tour Championship, when he was 5 up with 6 to play against Robertson and lost. But that is another cracker from long range from John Higgins. He is cueing exceptionally well.
He's putting a lot of short ones and a lot of long ones as well, which is not always a combination that goes hand in hand. You know, he's showing a good touch when he's in amongst them. And there's 2 or 3 of those into that left corner today have been fairly spectacular.
6. Seven.
just brushing off that red. But it's not left him the perfect angle on it to get onto his next colour.
14.
Yeah, of course, that's the problem. Not on the black, so another long pot here. This time, queuing shot on the blue, but there's a lot riding on it with the red close at hand, just below it.
Very good.
It was interesting the way he played it, though. Sort of take the cue ball slightly away from the red. Thought he might just go lower on the cue ball and play on a red just down this end a bit more. Instead, he's got a mid-range shot, which, judging by the way he's been putting, should be okay, but they're never easy. He's got the extension on his cue as well. Trying to run it round 2 cushions for the black. That'll do
21.
nicely.
Virtually every seat taken once again as we head towards the climax of this great Welsh Open. Mark Allen has only scored 38 points since the interval, and a few of those were academic when he was chasing snookers. Hasn't been able to get involved since the mid-session break, even though he would undoubtedly have been the happier of the two with the 2-all scoreline, having been 2-0 behind. But in truth, he's been, to this point anyway, clearly outplayed today by Higgins. It's now down to this man to finish the job.
Just a bit of uncertainty on this shot. Does he go into them, or does he just lay onto the loose thread up the table? There's your answer. Just at these points, he doesn't want the wheel to all of a sudden fall off, and this is where
28.
the mindset of John has been maybe the slight issue. As great a player as he is, he'll miss one and get dismayed by it, but now he's working with someone to stop that negativity sweeping across him.
29.
He's still doing pretty well though, isn't he? I mean, let's be honest, all these years in the top 16, still well and truly in the 16 on the 1 year, hardly doing a lot wrong. And that is a lovely split. He deserves to be on that red, and it's thin, but he is on it.
34.
So you feel it's just one positional shot away potentially here from getting this match won.
Yeah, he's very close now, isn't he? He's actually provisionally outside of the 16 in terms of the end of season rankings right now, but of course that could change and is likely to change pretty quickly
35.
given the amount of snooker still to come, and of course he's in the Players and very likely the Tour Championship as well, so power to add. But it's indicative of the fact that it has been a bit of a struggle for him in more recent times. Last season in particular, the season after he made all of those finals without success, was pretty barren for Higgins. This season has been very different. He's been very consistent, but he wants more than consistency. He wants the trophy. What's he landed on?
Well, it was a big shot, and he is a bit unlucky only to have this red if that's all he has got. I thought he controlled it really nicely. I don't think he's on the red to the right corner. The problem is the two balls are close here. This has got the possibility of a push shot. Slightly queuing away from it, so maybe that won't happen. Goodness me.
41.
Camera angle so low there, it's hard to be sure about this one. But he played it gently enough for it to drop. I think that's the key. So, things have got more difficult in the last few shots. Can he keep the break going?
46.
It's not exactly now or never for John, is it? But he certainly would like to dispatch this 5-2 victory fairly quickly. Mark Allen is not thinking that one chance and I'm right back in the match. He's not had a look in for all the frames since the mid-session.
Mark Allen trying to retain his focus in the event that he gets a chance to counter in this must-win frame for him. Higgins equally aware that there's still danger in this frame. So this is a big shot and he doesn't fancy it, does he? He's been down a few times on it and got back up again.
Yeah, it's one of those that you never, these are difficult ones to tell whether they actually do go or not. And he thinks perhaps not. They were the ones I used to find the most difficult to
John Higgins,
assess, really.
46.
Ball in the way of the one you're trying to pot. 46, good break. He'll be slightly peeved that it wasn't taking him over the line, but he can't have everything. Felt it was a massive shot that he felt obliged, compelled to take on. And it got in, there were plenty of rewards awaiting him. What does John do? He could play safe off the red in bulk quite comfortably. Doesn't need to take a risk, 46 in front. Might think he can get the cue ball somewhere in behind the yellow, or otherwise just keep things completely watertight. Interesting shot he played there. Didn't try anything flash by any means. Just trying to hold the advantage, I think. Make things awkward for Mark Allen.
just detect a trace of stress in Higgins at the moment, eager to get this over with. Fed up at the near misses that he's encountered of late.
Yes, and he knows that the man he's playing will not be giving up. You know, he's tasted success. He's lifted 2 titles this season. One of them the shootout, of course, the other one the champion of champions. He's more used to winning at this point in his career than John has been. Of course, we know John is a great champion. He's won everything multiple times, but we're talking about the last 3 years since that Players' Championship where he was superb. John's not missed, he's missed out a few times, a couple of times to this man. Let's be honest, at the latter stages of events. Cue ball. Will John be tempted by this long straight red to left corner? You might feel that with the red by the black, it was making the shot that sends the cue ball to the black cushion more of a viable option. It's more about the red that you miss if you miss it, that you're playing. Certainly making Mark Allen earn any possible in back into the frame himself, because he's giving him nothing. This time he's taking this red on. Very good. He had the safety net, if you like, of taking the cue ball away.
1.
Away from all the reds, all the action, if you like. Now can he get to the pink? That's tight, isn't it? Goodness. Don't think he can. Not to pot it. At the right side as we were looking. We might need a trace left down side on this, yeah, just to widen the angle. Definitely played it the side. The natural angle was not to be able to pot it. He's not nicely on a red.
7.
Another red, very similar to that one that he was further away from, of course. And this is grinding him closer and closer to the winning line.
Edging his way, isn't he? But all that matters for Higgins is getting over the line, getting himself into the semi-finals at the expense of a player who has given him headaches in recent times, has beaten him twice this season, including a final frame decider at the Masters. The lead goes to 59, 75 left.
13.
So 2 more reds. And Higgins should be home and dry. But he's overcut the red, so he's not there yet.
13.
Yes, it was getting more difficult, wasn't it? It felt by the shot, but it's not as difficult as it must feel for Mark Allen right now. A lot of the attention is on John, but he's 4-2 up, 59-0 up, and he's very much in command. It'll take quite an effort for Mark Allen from here. Can't pop one at this visit even, refusing the red down the cushion. But bringing the black into play the next time.
And now there's only 67 left.
One.
Yeah, so what does he do? Clearly, Mark Allen can win mathematically, although nothing's coming his way.
Brown ball.
Brown is going to be welded to the side cushion, I think, here.
John Higgins.
Not achieved
one.
it, though. Definitely what he played. See that quite a lot. Players do not quite get the ball safe when they try and directly put it onto a cushion like that.
Mark Allen really is teetering on the brink now. 60 behind, 2 down with 3 to play.
Yeah, even though the brown isn't completely safe, you know, where the yellow, green and brown are, sort of suggests that there's no real chance of a clearance. You'd have to do it in installments, I think, to get back into this. John just trying to get everything on a cushion. And why not? Problem, of course, here is that Mark will clearly take that red straight back off. not done very well, to be honest. Well, here's another red that John can take on. Thin to the right corner again, like so many others. This one is more difficult than the other pair that he chipped in earlier in the frame, but ultimately it would mean frame ball, match ball. Well, he had taken a red off the cushion because he overcut it. Feels very tense, doesn't it, this scenario? John should feel very comfortable in this position, of course, but as we've said before, he's lost matches of this nature. But it feels almost like a decider. It's a very good pot. So, the chance has come.
One.
No one is saying it's an easy one, but it is the first chance that John's given him for a while. Well, he's very disappointed there. He's finished in the one place where nothing goes. He obviously played on the low red, but quite a long way out, positionally. I mean, I think that will be a massive frustration because his cue ball control is usually immaculate, but he's way out, being on the red he meant to be on.
Cullen, 6.
Was a chance to at least apply some pressure to Higgins, but just 6 points, and Higgins is only one pot away from victory, barring Snookers. 54 the lead, 59 there, so were Higgins to pot another red, Allen would need one 4-point snooker to tie.
Yes, I mean, of course, Mark Allen's positional shot was not good, but it doesn't help that you've not seen a ball for all that time. Sort of table time and also actual time, just sitting in your chair, John knocking in long balls and then killing off frames quickly.
The longest frame of the match so far at nearly 28 minutes, and you can feel that final frame sort of tension, as Neil mentioned, even though on the face of it Higgins is in a very comfortable position, but given recent history he won't feel that way until frame is won, and with it a place in the last 4 of the Welsh Open.
this time, I wonder if John has got the shot at the red. Closest to the right corner. Can he get through to it? Well, I don't know about that. Whether it pots or not, maybe. Possibly the other red's in this way. It's touch and go. He's dropping into the back of it.
Confirmation, the longest frame so far. Higgins tantalisingly close to winning it, and with it the match, but still one pot away from leaving Allen needing snookers.
Well, he went for it, didn't he? He went for everything there. All or nothing. And I think it's the latter. If the red goes, he's virtually done and dusted here. And John Higgins has been patient. He's waited. I think, in a way, almost Mark Allen's patience ran out there.
One frame and a match.
That's
John
it.
Higgins.
John Higgins keeps alive hopes of a record-extending 6th Welsh Open title. He's outplayed Mark Allen today pretty comprehensively, particularly since the interval. He dominated the last 3 frames, and he's into his 84th ranking semi-final. Is this the week that Higgins breaks his 3-year ranking title drought? He beats Mark Allen by 5 frames to 2. He's into the last 4.